Добрый день, мы продолжаем.
Hello, and thanks for joining us. Today, with us, as always, is Dr. Michael Leitman. Hello, all. And today we'd like talk about decision-making methods. Something very practical, because we always have to take decisions. This is what our life is made up of. Making decisions about ourselves, our family, at work, global decisions. And I'd like to start with the following. I collected opinions of famous people about decision-making, and say what you think. The Pope from the times of ancient Rome says that we need to discuss often, but decide once. Mikhail Saltykov says, with an open discussion, not only mistakes, but the most absurdities are easily mentioned, or the weak doubts before making a decision, the strong after. Sigmund Freud says, recognizing the problem is half the success in resolving it. Albert Einstein says you can't solve a problem on the same level that it was created on, you have to rise to a higher level. What does it mean to take a decision from your point of view? Well, if the solution exists, or several solutions, I have to take one of them, that's one thing. Another thing is, if there's no solution, there's a problem, and I have to find the solution. And I have a few solutions of my own, and in between them, I'm looking for which one is correct, maybe more economically, better economically, or there are many questions. How to take a correct decision if we live in a deterministic world, at least that's what we think. When I have several options, I have to inquire and see according to what parameters should I choose. By economic parameters, or what's the quickest thing to realize, or most trustworthy, and so on. These are all questions that appear before any, suppose, engineer. Next question, there are different ways for making decisions. When I prepared myself for this show, there are different methods for it. I didn't know that there's such an amount. I'll say only some of them. And of course, it all depends on the problem itself. There is habit. Using habit in order to take some kind of a decision. It takes a lot of energy, and therefore, if every time you have to decide what to have for lunch, then it's a problem. Thus, go with your habit according to what you've already decided in the past. Also, there's the algorithm of if, then, meaning if we'll be 2 minutes late, then I'll do this and that. If I already see this in advance. There's the timer method. In 3 minutes, I have to decide this problem, to use this method. There is the method of brainstorming. Probably heard about this. When you hear everyone's opinion under certain conditions, and so on and so forth. Method of collective decision-making, voting, according to the majority. What methods of decision-making do you use in your life according to the tasks that you have to solve? I prefer to throw the idea into the group and for the group to discuss it up to the point where they come to a single conclusion. And even though that maybe this conclusion does not coincide with my initial decision, but I agree that this is exactly the way that they will solve it. Unless it's really in complete contradiction to my opinion. Choosing a decision depends on different factors. There are the personal qualities of a leader, there's the environment where you have to take this or realize this decision, cultural differences, time, information, many parameters. What's the main principle in taking or making a decision? I think that it has to be solved in a collective that will realize this decision for it to be agreed upon everyone, that besides the goal of what they have to come to, practically everything else they decide, and the goal is set by the leaders, and the collective works under the leadership of the managers. And here you have three levels: the leader, the managers, and the collective. And they have each to realize their function. The leader, he sets the circumstances for the future. The manager gathers the collective, solves with them how should they define the clear path to solving the problem that is set by the leader, and the manager manages this collective in order to choose the common and particular ways for the solution. By the way, there's this method called the intuitive method of making decisions. It says that most complicated problems a person solves intuitively. What is this intuitive decision making, or it's an inner voice, or what? I don't think that, I don't know to what extent can we talk about this to drive ourselves into different conditions where I don't know. Intuition, what is intuition? Don't you take decisions intuitively? Never. By no means. No. I'm a very simple person, mechanical. I always choose or make my decisions by understanding, by what I understand from the ancient wise books of the past. So you don't listen to an inner voice? No. How can I trust some inner voice? Some subconscious inside myself? What is that? Usually I get up at midnight or at 1 a.m. long before the lesson that I give every night at 3 a.m. And I think, well, I already in advance from the evening, I think about that problem, and then I wake up 2-3 hours before the lesson, usually 3 hours, and I have time left to think about the solution of the problem, and I don't rely on intuition. I simply try to solve it the way my teachers advise me to. So you think that there is a solution for any problem, that it's possible to solve any problem? Of course, depending on what level and how to solve it. So there's no such problem that you can't solve. No. Nature is controlled by very clear rules, laws. There are no unexpectancies. It's hidden from us, but it's clearly determined from above down. In nature, there's nothing that's unknown or unclear how. You don't have what we studied in the university, like the possibility of something happening. It's like Einstein said, that God doesn't throw dice. So it's all in relation to us people. Of course, only in relation to us, to ourselves. But actually, there's one clear decision. Always. Because the beginning of nature and its end exist. They're completely interconnected between them. And all of nature exists in this unclear form only in relation to man. For man to direct himself at it and to collect all of these cubes together in a single pyramid structure, kind of. I understand that you have a certain method for decision making. Could you teach others how to do it? Gradually, I teach this to all of my students. But there are those that will be able to do it and those that won't. Those that can't. But it's a lengthy process. It's not only an educational process, it's the process of making a human being out of man. And then, when he becomes a human being, as a result, he'll make the right decisions. Yes, from this correct inner form of his, by creating whatever he creates inside himself. So there are no concrete actions like do this, do that, think about one thing or another. Simple methods of how to solve according to if a person did not achieve a certain spiritual degree, only after he reaches a certain spiritual degree can he make the right decision. A person, when should he take a decision on his own, and when should he do it in a collective? Are there such situations where a person makes a decision on his own without consulting anyone? When his decision coincides with the decision of the collective, then he can make his decisions on his own. But simple decisions in relation to himself, to buy a house, I don't have to decide about this with the collective, what to eat for lunch. Wouldn't be bad. What, to talk to the collective about it? Why not? Suddenly they'll tell you, and suddenly you'll see, yeah, what do I need this kind of house for? What for? For sure. Meaning, even what to eat? Why not? It's written so in our ancient books. We have such examples there. So you're in favor of the collective. I am. Just a second. You can ask, to what extent does it obligate you after you have asked their decision? That's something else. After you ask for their opinion, that's something else. But to ask, it's always good. And then to decide, then you have to decide. But you have to understand based on what criteria should you make your decisions and so on. I know that even in some of your books it says that it's better to make mistakes together with everyone than to be right on your own. Because still, if you'll make a mistake with everyone, it will be as a collective nonetheless. Because the movement is in the direction of coming together. What do you think? Are there such decisions that only man can make? Artificial intelligence is a machine. If it can decide about something artificially, no problem. If it can't, it can't. We get confused. We think that we're getting some new kinds of computers that can solve problems that only, the highest beings can decide as if. That's impossible. It's a calculating machine. It only puts together numbers. And actually, we too, in our brain happens the same. But we have a big plus compared to other biological beings. We connect to the upper mind above us. There is a very big common mind, and in it there is everything. Absolutely. We connect to it, and we get our ideas from there. The information comes from there, and a machine can't connect to that in any way. But if a person doesn't connect to that upper intellect, he remains a beast. Then a machine can make better decisions than him. Yeah, depends on what level, but even animals, even the still vegetative animate human levels, they're all connected to that brain, but it depends on what level. But that brain is the controlling system that controls everything. So there's no fear that in the future we'll be controlled by machines, like we see in different movies. If you want to, then yes. It's possible, yeah. It's a machine. It works in a very deterministic way. If you program it wisely, then it will wisely control you. No, by your own desire, that's impossible. So you don't believe that it's possible. Not that I don't believe it is impossible, because by definition, it is not created by the Creator, but it's a human creation. And for man, according to the system of cause and consequence, there can't be something that we will create under us that will be higher than ourselves. So these machines can't have freedom of choice that suddenly they'll start deciding what to do about humanity. Well, any machine, calculating machine, can do that. It's not freedom. In order to correctly make a decision, do not have to separate yourself from emotions or try to find a logical solution. You need everything. A person is a complex system consisting of mind and heart. And we can't work only with the mind, disregarding the heart, or vice versa. We have to balance out these two systems in the middle line, and then we'll make the correct decisions. Well, in making decisions, should a person try to tie this with the laws of nature, meaning to what to measure? Does it correspond, the laws of nature? If I take a decision, does it correspond to the laws of nature? How can I check? What example? Can you give some kind of an example of how to make a decision that will correspond to the laws of nature? You have to rise to that level. Rise to such a level. Connect yourself to the laws of nature, meaning in faith above reason, because the laws of nature, faith is the quality of connection or connection called love, and then you'll be able to solve the problem correctly. More simply put, what law of nature are we talking about? The general interconnection. So in nature, there are all in all two laws. It's either receiving or giving, meaning there's harmony between them. Yeah. So before making a decision, I have to understand how do the laws of receiving work, the laws of giving, and the harmony between them has to be my compass when I make decisions. Yeah? What do you think? To postpone decision-making can be called decision-making too? To postpone decision-making, depends. Maybe, possibly. Maybe that's the best solution for a situation. What can stand in the way of making the right decision? The lack of the necessary information. Knowing what you lack, when you know what you lack. What could you advise a person who made a wrong decision and now regrets it? How to correct the past? Not to regret it in any way. Regretting the past, that's not understanding that above you there is a leader that programs all of this and looks ahead. So if a decision's already made, it can't be a mistake. You have to think that in your turn, you are not in the position of a leader, but in the position of a manager or even the realizer, and then you'll have no problems. Is there such a concept like I took some kind of a decision, I made a mistake, or you can't say that? No. Nothing was done by mistake. Everything happened the way, even if you don't know about it, but when it happened already and you tried as much as you could, but it happened the way that it did, That's it. You solved the problem. But what came out, you have to say, the Creator did what He did. He completes the work for me. After making a decision, can something say if it's correct or not? Some feeling that you have? No. What you feel doesn't say anything. A person has to be more or less healthy and balanced when he makes a decision, meaning his physical state does impact his decision making. He has to have the right mood, a normal mood, he has to be balanced, and then he can make so if a person's ill, he should postpone taking a decision. Okay. How can you more quickly make a decision? How can you be more decisive? I think that it's impossible. And if a person thinks that that that's how he becomes, then I think that he's only becoming more foolish. It's only with the help of the collective. How to make a certain decision in a family? The mom, the dad, the who? The mother. The mother makes the decisions. The wife has to make all the decisions. Actually, yes. It said so by Abraham. Listen to what Sarah tells you. Who could influence your opinion in making decisions? In relation to what? I don't decide anything. What is there to decide about? The Creator solves the problems that are on the higher level for me and my students on the lower level. No, I mean decisions like how to better explain one another problem. Ask my students, what is it better to talk about? What subject? Find me the materials for every lesson, and so on. And according to those materials that they give me, I start to explain and confuse them in order to explain to them what they themselves chose. Are there people that can influence your decisions? It's not a decision. I simply go with the collective that wants to advance and that agrees to what I say, choose the materials for their advancement. I think that that's very correct. Now the world's going into uncertainty. Can we take all the factors into consideration? What should we orient ourselves on? That we have to achieve full integrality on all levels, and to turn ourselves from a multi-sided, from a world that is all in contradiction to a global world that is more like a sphere that balances everything out. Are there factors that are hidden from our five senses that can help us make a decision? Only love. Only love, meaning the complete connection between all factors. Inclusion in name of complete balance between everything. So the closer a person comes to the quality of nature, the quality of love, emanation, the closer he is, the better chances are that he'll make the right decision. Yes? And what is a doubt when making a decision? When a person doesn't know. When he doesn't know the laws of nature, their clear characteristics. A true decision, is it always evident or does it always have to be hidden? A true decision is always on the next degree, where a person has to rise above himself to the next level. That is where the correct decision is. You always say that the main thing is to make a decision together. What is it better to be wrong about together than making the right decision on your own? Because one way or another, the Creator will make things the way they are better for everyone. You said that it's better to listen to your wife when making a decision. Is it an allegory or is it truly so? allegorically and also not allegorically. I think that a woman thinks much better than a man does, and she can make the decision, can participate in decision making, and it's better for the man to look at the woman's attitude towards solution making, as towards resolving a problem or decision making, and to lower themselves, for a man to lower himself and not to push his idea forward, his opinion. You're saying that decisions have to be taken collectively better as a 10. The main thing is not to argue, but everyone has to annul themselves. If everyone annuls themselves, how do you make a decision? What is the technology for making a collective decision? That is the technology that you all the time annul yourself in name of the collective solution. So if everyone annuls themselves, well, you'll explain, you'll express yourselves, then by each annulling himself, there will be a general solution. So we'll come to a point where everyone will have the same solution? No, it will appear by all of you annulling yourselves, everyone annulling his egoism, and appears the solution that is above all of you. But it's one. Yes. Okay, that's really a very special thing. There has to be a special kind of connection. You have to realize it. And before that, no, this is how you have to try and do it. Is it possible to vote? Nah. These are all egoistic, that's all egoistic, wild stuff. That's completely leftist ideas. So you're against voting, completely. When a group of people that understand nothing, that aren't governed by a higher reason, without connecting with it, express their opinion, we see what happens with the world as a result. But still, if that group, it can't come to, then there's nothing that you can do. We wait, no solution. There's a leader, follow him with your eyes shut, and that's that. So if the group can make a decision, then you go, then you follow the hierarchy, you follow the leader. Yeah. That was said by that group. Okay, the leader that was set by the group. Okay, so for the end of the show, I'd like to ask for you to give us advice for different categories of people. For a person, for a simple person, how can he take a decision, the right decision in every moment in life? What would you advise him? Make it so that people will accept you. For a leader, how should he make a decision that will be good for him and for his subordinates? Talk to your subordinates. For politicians, a president, how can he make the correct decision? He has to look for wise people. For parents, what advice could you give them how to make the correct decision in a family? To understand the child and give him the kind of thing that can make it great, that can teach him, educate him, and make him great. Oh, how should people do it? Come to our organization to find the meaning of life. That's modest, right? And last thing, should you teach a person how to make decisions, or is it something that you get from education, or how? There are many courses about to make the right decisions, many courses. Yeah, but they're all within the boundaries of this corporeal world, so we can't talk on the same level. But we live in the corporeal world. No, the thing is that today it's no longer so. Today we're already living in such a generation that has to choose its path, even in the most simple, elementary, could be even industrial problems. It has to coincide with the general goal of creation. Otherwise, that factory or plant won't succeed. So we're saying that there isn't any clear advice, no point taking a course. They should take a course. They should come to our course, and gradually they'll start understanding how does this entire system work. The system called the one soul of Adam, and how can we in that system completely correctly behave. Thank you very much. I hope that we were able to discuss this correctly, and good luck in making your decisions. Yeah, I hope that we'll be able to deduce or draw conclusions from that. Thank you very much.